ready to jump into a world with ancient beings.
Hmm.
They've got the fate of an entire planet in their hands. We're diving into excerpts from this book by G.J. Gardner Jr. Have you heard of this one?
I have. It's a wild ride. It's got all these fantastical creatures, powerful beings, cosmic consequences, you name it.
It sounds like the author took like everything we thought we knew about fantasy and sci-fi, threw it in a blender and hit puree.
That's a great way to put it. I mean, you've got these really vivid descriptions and captivating characters, but then it uses this fantastical setting to go deeper.
Yeah.
You know, it makes you think about creation, destruction, the nature of reality.
So it's not just a space opera.
Definitely not. It's got layers, like those halls of exile you mentioned. What'd you think of that when you first read about it?
Honestly, a little ominous. Like, okay, so it's a prison, but for whom and why? It's like, what did they do to end up there?
Right. And the way the author describes it, you immediately get this sense of dread. It's a prison dimension, holding beings with powers we can barely comprehend. Powers that could unravel the universe if they ever got out.
Which brings us to Azra, a being powerful enough to be imprisoned in a dimension meant for, well, the most dangerous things in existence.
Exactly. And he's not your typical villain either. He's described as this, like, raptor-like humanoid with a weapon that can bend reality.
Wait, a weapon that bends reality. How do you even begin to imagine that?
Right, you don't. The author just throws it out there, this creature capable of unimaginable power, and then he hits you with this line about Azra scratching his claws on a cave wall.
So he's got claws too.
Yeah, and not just any claws, right? A claws that can score rock like it's nothing, but then he uses them for something so simple. It's like this weird juxtaposition of power and delicacy almost.
I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of those claws, delicate or not. But it does make you wonder, what landed him in the halls of exile in the first place?
Right. Is he a misunderstood savior, a victim of circumstance, or a genuine threat to everything? The author keeps us guessing.
Well, he's got my attention. And then there's Talia, then BADDEC. What does that even mean?
It means she's connected to nature in a way we can't even fathom. She can communicate with animals, control plants, maybe even manipulate time. The author hints at her full potential without revealing everything, which I gotta say is a brilliant move.
So she's like a walking embodiment of the Force.
That's one way to put it. But she's also just a young woman trying to find her place in the world. And then there's Geonon, the brooding hero with a tragic past.
Geonon, the one bound to the destructive armor, Dark Star. He sounds like a walking paradox. Powerful but trapped.
Exactly. He's this fascinating blend of strength and vulnerability. And his backstory. Don't even get me started on his backstory.
Oh, you know I'm going to ask. Give me the rundown. Who is this guy?
Well, we know that Talia's mother, Queen Alia, fell in love with Geonon.
Okay, so he's connected to Talia. Interesting. His Dark Star sounds like bad news.
Oh, it is. But it's also keeping him alive. He's paying a hefty price for his past. We get glimpses of his regret, this longing for what he's lost.
Talk about carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. Literally. So we've got Azra locked away, Talia discovering her powers, and Geonon battling his past. Where does Mathis fit into all of this?
Mathis is the catalyst. He's the one who sets everything in motion.
He seemed like, I don't know, kind of unimportant.
Ah, that's where you're wrong. He may seem like a harmless old man, but he's got this wisdom, this knowledge of ancient prophecies. He's the one who believes that Azra, the being everyone fears, is the key to saving Nocturne.
Wait, he wants to unleash the, what was it, the reality bender?
Yep. He believes that Azra is the only one who can repair the manifold of creation. It's this cosmic tapestry, the very fabric of existence. And it's been fractured, corrupted.
So it's not just about saving a planet, it's about saving, well, everything.
Pretty much. And Mathis is convinced that Azra is the key, even if it means risking, well, everything to free him.
Now, that's a deep dive, if I've ever heard one. Okay, so last time we left off with Mathis wanting to free Azra from the Halls of Exile. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that one. But to do that, they need to find Talia, right?
Exactly. Mathis believes Talia's BADDEC abilities are crucial to his plan. And that's what takes them to the icy wastelands of Delore, not exactly a vacation destination.
Yeah, we were talking about Delore earlier, home of those crowned worms, right? Mathis had a rather close encounter with one.
Oh, you mean where he barely escaped with his life? Yeah, those crown worms are no joke. Imagine a monstrous worm with a crown of razor-sharp teeth burrowing through the ice. They're fast, they're agile, and they're hungry.
It's like something out of a nightmare.
Tell me about it. And they're not just mindless creatures either. The author describes them as territorial, almost intelligent, like they're defending something.
Makes you wonder what they're protecting down there in all that ice.
Right. It's like the author's giving us a glimpse of the raw power of Nocturne, the kind of place where even the smallest creatures can be deadly.
Yeah.
But that encounter with the crowned worm, it wasn't just about survival for Mathis.
What do you mean?
It showed us something about him. He doesn't panic. He thinks on his feet. He knows how to use his environment to his advantage. It's like he's always prepared for the unexpected, which, when you're dealing with ancient prophecies and cosmic beings, is probably a good thing.
So he's like a cosmic Boy Scout.
Yeah.
Always prepared.
Something like that. But Delore isn't just about dangerous creatures and close calls. It's home to Izala 10, the crumbling tower that was once Queen Alia's home, Talia's mother.
Ah, so this is where we get more of Talia's backstory.
Exactly, and it's not a happy one. We get these glimpses into her past, the bond she shared with her mother. It's clear that Talia is trying to piece together who she is, where she comes from, and Delore holds some of those answers.
And somewhere under this tower is a garden that Mathis really wants to find.
That garden isn't just any garden. It was created by Queen Alia before her death as a way to protect her loved ones, Talia and Jinan.
A magical garden hidden beneath a crumbling tower in a wasteland crawling with terrifying creatures. Classic. But why is this garden so important?
Mathis believes it holds a key to helping Jinan regain his lost powers.
Wait, you're telling me that a garden can somehow restore a demigod's powers?
Hey, we're talking about a planet where reality itself is fractured. A little magical gardening doesn't seem so far-fetched, does it?
Fair point. But just to be clear, we're talking about the same Jianan who's now bound to a suit of destructive armor. Are we sure giving him back his powers is a good idea?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? But their journey doesn't end in the garden. It takes them to a tavern, of all places.
A tavern. After giant worms and hidden gardens, now we're adding a bar fight to the mix.
Not quite a bar fight, but it definitely gets interesting. This tavern, it's in Ninhursag, and it's like a melting pot for the entire planet.
What do you mean?
You've got all sorts of beings there from different cultures, different backgrounds, and it's there that we really start to understand the impact of the cataclysm, this event that fractured the manifold of creation.
Right, because up until now, the cataclysm has been this kind of abstract idea, right? Something bad happened a long time ago, and now the universe is messed up.
Yeah.
This is giving me a headache.
I hear you. But remember, Talia is an BADDEC. If anyone can find a way to make this work, it's her. And that's exactly what happens next. Their journey takes them to this towering cliff impossible to climb. It's like the author is saying, okay, how are they going to get out of this one?
Undoubtedly.
Talia, with a gesture, uses her powers to lift herself and Mathis to the top. Just like that.
See, this is why I love fantasy. You can just bend the rules of reality.
Right. But then, just when you think things are looking up for Talia, she has this vivid dream, this warning about Key.
Key, the one who tricked Azra. What does he want?
He appears before Talia, tells her not to free Azra, says it's too dangerous.
Oh, so now he's looking out for her best interest. I don't trust him.
Me neither. It's like he's trying to manipulate her, steer her in a certain direction.
This Key sounds like a real piece of work.
Yeah.
And speaking of manipulation, we haven't talked about Talia's journal.
Oh, right. Her journal. Now that's where things get really interesting.
What's so special about a journal? Is it like a magical journal?
It disappears. Every time she finishes writing, poof, gone.
Okay, that's a little creepy. Where does it go?
We don't know. But it's like it exists outside of time and space, which, when you think about Talia's powers, makes a strange kind of sense.
So she's writing to someone.
Something. That's the mystery.
It's like they're piecing together a giant puzzle. And this journal might be the missing piece. But they've still got a long way to go, right? I mean, they haven't even reached the Halls of Exile yet.
You're right. Their journey takes them to Heliodum, a hidden temple deep within a massive crater. And that's where things start to get really interesting.
Heliodum. What is it about this author and giving places creepy names? What awaits them in this hidden temple? So, Heliodum, a hidden temple deep inside a crater. You were saying it's more than just a temple, though.
Yeah, it's like stepping back in time. Imagine walls covered in murals telling the story of Nocturne, its creation, its history.
And these murals, they show Azra.
Front and center. Not just as some powerful being, but as the architect of Nocturne. He's the one who shaped this planet, breathed life into it.
So he's not just some random powerful being. He's responsible for all of this. Then what landed him in cosmic jail?
Well, the murals hint at a fall from grace.
Well, it makes you see Azra in a new light, doesn't it? And speaking of seeing Azra,
and she comes face to face with Azra. But he's not what she expects. He's not this fearsome, all-powerful being. He's weak, almost helpless. The author describes him as a shadow of his former self.
Wow, that's rough. Imprisonment will do that to you, especially when it's in another dimension. But Azra's not alone in there, right? What about L'Oreal?
Ah, L'Oreal. She's with him, fiercely loyal. It seems like she's been both his protector and his friend, sticking by his side all this time. It's kind of heartwarming amidst all the cosmic chaos.
Loyalty like that. It's a powerful thing. But it sounds more like a pressure cooker than a party.
It is.
Their next move, it's a doozy. They end up in a library.
A very special library. It's the Library of Nocturne. Imagine a place that holds all the knowledge of this planet. Every story, every secret.
Okay, that's cool, but a library.
This library is special. It's hidden within the roots of this gigantic ancient tree.
That sounds kind of magical, actually.
Oh, it is. But to get there, they have to travel through, wait for it, another gateway.
Seriously. This guy and his gateways. What is it with this guy?
This one's different. This is the interspace, a realm between realms, existing outside of time and space.
Okay, now we're getting into some seriously trippy territory.
No kidding. And you know Mathis, always the pragmatist. He says traveling through the interspace is like dying, but then he adds that it's also oddly peaceful.
I don't know if peaceful is how I'd describe it, but I guess if I had to die to get to a library that vast, maybe it'd be worth it. So what's the plan once they're inside?
Azra reveals he thinks he can restart the manifold, like a universal reboot.
He's going to reboot the universe from inside a library. Talk about ambitious.
Right. But remember Spectra, it's the only way, the power to create, to destroy. It can also restart.
Sounds risky.
Oh, it is hugely risky. Yeah. But their problems don't end there. Don't forget about Key.
Key, our favorite puppet master. Of course, he's not going to let them just restart the universe without a fight.
Exactly. Key represents chaos, the desire for control, not creation. He's a constant reminder that even if they succeed, the battle's far from over.
Wow. So what have we learned? We've got a creator seeking redemption, a young woman with the weight of the universe on her shoulders, a hero struggling to overcome his past, and a villain who, well, he just wants to watch the world burn. Or maybe the universe.
And that's the beauty of the Planet of Nocturne, you know? It's more than just a story. It's a reflection of our own struggles, our own potential for both creation and destruction.
Big questions for a deep dive, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But isn't that what makes it interesting? It makes you think, makes you feel. And honestly, isn't that what a good story is supposed to do?
Absolutely. It stays with you long after you finish reading it. And who knows, it might even change the way you see the universe.